This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. This is so different to be up here instead of out there, but I'm glad to see everybody here this morning. For those of you who don't know, I'm Sue Deal. I'm the Communications Committee Chair. And part of our role is to communicate changes, things, how-tos, etc., as often as we can. So I'm sure a lot of you in your careers have sat through PowerPoint presentations, but it was the best way I had to actually tell you all about electronic voting, Election Buddy, and how it's going to work here. Jill, can I have the slide, please? The big screen in the middle they're asking about? It should be on the side screens, but that's quite a ways away, isn't it? There we go. So that's my computer picture up there, so it's got extra stuff on the bottom, but Election Buddy is who is going to administer our first electronic vote, which will be for the bylaw and CC&R amendments. Oh, interesting things show up there. I haven't ever done this in this kind of an environment. I'll take the next slide when you're ready. Lots of text on here, so let me just talk to it a little bit. There was feedback from the long range planning survey, and the interesting thing was the biggest topic for long range planning was technology. The comments that were made all the way through that, because I was at several of the forums, is that it would have been nice to be able to take the long range survey electronically. So that helped start us down the path of looking into this. It is efficient, it's available for everybody, and there is cost savings associated with it. And it is managed by an independent third party with secure links, vote reminders, and immediate results. Now, as far as questions, if you have a question on the specific slide, feel free. And if you have general questions at the end, you may ask them then. I'm hoping I will answer most of your questions or let you know what you might want to know. Sorry about the... So the decision was made at the April 11th, 2024 board meeting to approve electronic voting. On August 8th, Election Buddy was selected to provide that capability. Their experience, 42 million plus votes, which was reassuring to me too, because I also get to vote electronically. And they've done 281,000 plus elections, so they have experience. It can handle any ballot size. So in this case, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute, we have to vote on every change proposed for the bylaws and CC&Rs, which is now, what did you say, 13? Yeah, about 13. And individual votes will be required for this. And the text of every CC&R change, let's say, has to be shown to you when you go to vote for it. So it makes it kind of a lengthy thing. But they can handle everything from a board of directors vote was like, say, 6 or 7 candidates to this long CC&R amendment type of thing. It's all built in how it works. And it also gives us the ability to do a test run before we start this process. All the changes have to be available. Each change requires a vote. Okay, so the first vote, this will be the first one for Happy Trails. It will be, the voting period will be December 3rd through December 16th. Where will you vote? Where you and your computer or phone are located, or in the library where there will be a laptop and help for you to vote located, or your neighbors and friends who will help you do your voting. So each lot will get, and I'll talk about that more in a second, but each lot will get a key dedicated to that lot, one vote per lot. The 2 information sessions today and again on the 22nd, they'll all be recorded, and I'm assuming we'll learn from here things to maybe change in the next one, but I will be doing that one too. And the access is via a secure, automatically generated 16-digit key. Sometimes as I look at this, I think I would have loved to have had this for this latest election. I don't know how many of you vote in Arizona, but in Arizona, you have to periodically vote to retain or not retain all the judges. So you have a huge page of people's names you know nothing about that you have to say keep or not. In fact, I understand that they even gave voters Sharpies because it's faster to fill in the circles with a Sharpie than a pen. Okay, and we will be sending out a notice. So we have the administrator for Election Buddy. We'll be sending out a notice a week before, reminding people that this is going to happen. And then the voting process is really simple. It almost takes me more to explain it to you than it does to actually do it. So you'll receive the notice, and on that notice will be the key, and I'll show you a picture in a second. And we've made every effort to identify a primary email address for every lot in Happy Trails. And a primary phone number, because we will also send out a text. Then you enter your ballot choices and then review and submit your ballot. And the steps for that are, okay, this one I know is really tiny. I had to do cut and paste off of their website to try and get the explanation in here. So the darker text is where I filled in our relevant information. So you can vote by phone, but considering how many things we have to vote for, you may not want to. It's probably going to be easier with the computer. The invitation will come to you, and you can see where I have circled the 16-digit key. Each lot gets one. There can only be one vote per lot. And the owners of the lots are the ones who vote. Renters do not vote. And you cannot, I'm sorry to say, you can't have husband have one vote and wife have another. It's one vote. You need to be in lockstep on that. There are a few things I have noted on my notes here that I will put together to go out in a blast or an email. For instance, they ask that you add invitations at mail.electionbuddy.com to your contact list so that these do come through for you. I will include that. If you lose your text and your email, it can be recovered by contacting them, and I have that information too. So I'm really giving you a very broad brush. Now, when it comes time to vote, next slide. Jill, you got me? Right arrow? There we go. So the ballot, you'll get the instructions, and the ballot will show you all of the text of the change that's coming. So I just picked randomly, because it was short, to try and squish it in, 1.31, which has to do with the definition of an RV. You will see down below, I wish it were bigger. I'm sorry about that. Well, it's bigger for you there than it is back there, so that's good. The choices for that particular change will be to approve it, not approve it, reject it, or to abstain. And that will be true on every entry.
Can I just jump in?
Mhm.
Okay. If you look at the ballot, this is part of the ballot. If you see, it's going to be just like it is out on the paper that was sent out. It's going to say, we want to change, it's recommended we change 3.16 from, which is how it's stated in the current CCNRs, to how we'd like it to be stated in the CCNRs, with the red highlight being the actual change that's going in. So that way it stands out. And then, as Sue was saying, then you would have your choice of whether you approve the amendment, do not approve the amendment, or you abstain. So you have 3 choices.
So once you have gone down the list, because it'll come to you in a long page, if you will, to scroll down, when you're done with your choices, then you'll click the continue button, which will then take you to, hang on a second up there, the opportunity to edit or to submit the ballot. So if you want to edit, or you're not sure how you voted, or you want to go back and review, you'll be able to do that. It will take you back and you can go down through your choices. And then once you click submit, you will get a confirmation. It will give you a, what would you call it, confirmation code. Good old confirmation codes. We get them in everything, don't we? But you can print it, or you can screenshot it, or whatever you want to do to save it. And later, after all the voting's done, the results will be sent by Election Buddy to the office, because management is their point of contact for this election. And then the results will be sent out probably in a blast, and maybe by emails. We're still working that one out, because the emails will be available. So it may be that it will be emailed directly to each person, so you can see what the result of the vote was. So I went through that pretty fast. Does anybody have any questions on any of this? I told you it takes longer to talk about than it'll do to do it. Yeah, I see a question. Apple and Android and Windows, because it's through the internet. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yes. Yes.
They have the ability of being able to see if the votes have come in and who have not voted, but they can't tell how they voted. So what will happen is, say after 1 week, if we find that only 10% of the population has responded, we will probably have a notification sent out that says, don't forget, you have a vote and it's due by such and such. And then we can do another one in the first part of the 2nd week. So yes, we can send reminders out. I say we, it's really Election Buddy and our POC, which is Jennifer out of the office. They can send push notices, don't forget. It even has the ability, but I don't think we're going to set this up at this time, to be able to see who has not responded in certain phases. That's how detailed it can get, but I don't think we're going to go into that for setting that up. So we're just going to say, as 2001 units, only 1,000 have responded. So now we'll send out a push to the other 1,000.
Go ahead, Jackie. No. It doesn't have the capability of saving where you were in the process.
Right, and I think I talked to Election Buddy about that. They're working on that, but at this point in time, once you open the vote, it'll actually time out, I assume, if you haven't done it, let's say in an hour. Now, that's not to say you can't maybe stop and run to the ladies' room and come back and still get on, but to actually stop it and try and back out and then go back in is not going to happen.
Yes. What about people who are not computer literate in this part? I know. And there will be a kiosk set up in the library. There will be communications committee volunteers and others to help you vote. The only thing I'll emphasize to you that keep the key. If you get sent the email with the key, just keep it because that belongs to you. But we will help everybody that wants to vote.
Just to clarify, she's right. You'll keep your text or your email. That has your 16 key identifier number. Don't panic if you lose it though. 16 key identifier number. And you come in and either the communications committee or even Stephanie at the front desk, if she's not busy, not help you vote, but will help you log on through the kiosk with your 16 key identifier. So your ballot pulls up and then you can sit there and vote. And if you have questions, there's somebody there that can answer your questions, not necessarily tell you how to vote, but answer your questions about the item that's up for, or how you go ahead and click on to accept, no, or abstain, and then how you complete the ballot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's right.
Will we be getting an email with a trial ballot on it? I mean, sitting here and looking at this, the print is very small. And it would be nice to be able to see what we're going to get before we get it.
I'm so sorry. I think it would be a good idea to, because I did this all by cut and paste. I certainly can cut and paste what it would look like, and we can have it as a PDF that can be posted, right, Darlene?
Yeah, we can post it on Neighbor,
Yeah.
the entire presentation.
Yes, okay. And then even then, if the examples in the presentation are too small, because I know when you look at it on a piece of paper, it's a little fuzzy, then we can blow them up. Yes.
What about those people who don't have computers and don't do any kind of electronic communication? Will you be sending out a letter to them with their key thing on it? And what if they're confined to a home and they have any way of voting, like a paper ballot or anything like that?
Yes, so electronic means is the preferred method. So let me give you some statistics. We did a very big data push this summer. And we requested primary emails and primary phone numbers. And out of 2,001 lots, we only have 42 that do not have an email associated to the account. Now, that could be a number of reasons. It could be they don't have a computer, smartphone, they don't get online, or they don't want us to have that information, which is completely up to them for privacy purposes. Of those 42 that did not give us an email address to their account, 27 of them live right here at Happy Trails. So that means we only have 15 that are out of state. So those 27, again, could be that they have an email account and a computer, but choose not to give us that information. That's fine. But they can come in. We can print out their specific ballot for them based on their lot number, and we can assist them, or we can give them their 16 code identifier and let them walk over to the kiosk and assist them to log in so that they can do their vote there. We're very amenable to helping out. All we're suggesting is that electronic means is the preferred method. Now, I happen to know of one particular gentleman, Debbie, I think you can attest to this, that we've already talked about, that we can certainly mail that individual a printout ballot that he would print out, sign, and then send back, and then we can count that up and enter it into the system. But again, electronics is the preferred method. I just caution you, my mother-in-law is 98 years old. She has a smartphone, and she uses it. And many of us here use computers, whether it's for Facebook or for FaceTiming with our grandchildren. I think there's more out there than you think. So I don't want to whirl around maybe the 10 people that need help, we're happy to help them and get them logged in, or if we have to print out the paper ballot and assist them. But I don't think it's what I'm hearing out on social media. If we have that problem, we will certainly address it. But most of you have a computer, you're out there, this is going to be very easy for you. Some of you, I've done it before with other associations. I've done it on my phone. It's easy for me, but the screen might not be big enough for some of you. Therefore, we just suggest you use your laptop. It'll be easier. The fact that we will have the data is out there on what is the proposed votes, but we are going to clean that up. And if I need to make it kind of look like what we think the ballot will look like, we're happy to do that. And that is out on Neighbor, that you can either save it to your computer or you can print it out and study it. And I ask you to get familiar with it so you have some idea on what you're voting on and that you're not having to do it right when you pull it up for your ballot.
Let me just add to that. We have 2,001 lots. We have about 3,500 people. Everywhere you go, you hear people saying, it's so friendly here, it's so nice here, we are a community. So anybody, any of us can help any of us. And that's a really great position to be in, I think.
That was
Yeah.
my question. So if I went to my girlfriend's house, use my key, and she can be in the other room, she'll never know how I voted.
That's true too. Back there. Sorry. Coming this way.
So I have a question. When will elections take place? What month will we be doing this?
The election period is December 3rd through December 16th. And one of the reasons that it's so long is because there's a lot more things to look at.
So it will be here when people are in residence?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
if they're not, if some people don't come down till January, but they will have received this at their homes through email and can vote from their homes. They can vote from anywhere. They can log into their computer or their phone.
They
So
can-
if somebody does require a paper ballot, can they pick it up only during that window, or can they get it ahead of time?
Only during the window, because that's when it's set up. That's why we have the changes posted out on Neighbor for you to be able to review and look at and ask us questions.
And the paper ballot will have that 16-digit number that pertains to just you. So that way we know that only you voted for that.
I had a clarification. It sounded like what you were saying is once we receive our email, we click to go out onto Election Buddy to vote. We only can log in one time. We can't stop, go out, go back the next day and
Correct.
log in.
That's right.
You have to finish it that first time.
Yes.
So if somebody logs on and they don't vote for whatever reason, then do they not count as part of the quorum, or how is the quorum established? Is it per vote, or how does it work?
I think it needs to submit.
Yeah, they need to submit.
So if you log into it and don't do anything, right, Roberta, and never make any choices or click the submit at the end, you're fine.
And I will do you one better. We will check on that. Jackie, could you write that down for me? The question, as I understand it, is if I click on the link and log into Election Buddy and I'm fiddling around with it and I vote on a couple, but I don't complete the process and I end up backing out, can I get back into it to actually do my vote? Correct? Okay. So we will check that, because I think you can, as long as you have not submit the ballot. But we will verify that and get that back out, okay? The quorum piece, it has to do when you submit the ballot, will count towards, that will be the quorum.
Mhm.
So if we have 1,000 people that return ballots, that will be the quorum.
The key is hitting the submit button.
Correct. Does that answer your question? Okay, who else?
Okay, and you had asked me up here up front, way back with the first question, to repeat the question. And she had asked if it would work on Apple and on Android, and I said, yes, it will, because it goes to the internet. Yes.
You mentioned that you can print out the confirmation that your ballot went through. On a lot of votes, there's only one or two issues, but this one's going to be quite lengthy. Can we actually print out the ballot showing how we voted so we can keep it?
Here's my guess as a computer person, okay? When you click at the end, you could click the edit button and go back and you will see everything again with your votes. And you should be able to just do a alt print screen or something like that, but there is no provision in Election Buddy to particularly do that.
Right, and will you write that down for me, Jackie? I'll check on that too for you. That's why when we print this document that we have out on Neighbor, we recommend that you make your annotations on that and actually have that with you when it doesn't make sense. I do have a question.
Is the version that's currently on Neighbor the final version of what we will be voting on?
Pretty much, except for some of the grammar and spelling. So we're going to clean that up and get that back out there for you, okay? If you just give me another day and a half, I'm squirreling on the Veterans Day thing for Monday right now. But we will get that cleaned up and get that printed and posted out there. Yes. How's that?
There will
What
be a
we
way.
didn't want is a bunch of the admin stuff being in there to get in the way, because if you looked at a lot of the red line, it'll drive you crazy. Okay.
If there is tie, do we have to pay them again for redo, or how does that work? A tie, let's say Joe Blow and Joe Smith on the ballot get the same number of votes.
It is, I don't know, because right now we are not setting up, I shouldn't say I don't know, but we are not setting up for an individual vote. In other words, who's running for what. But I don't know if is such a thing as a tie on a yes or no vote on an item.
Okay, so that's a good point. But we're not doing elections for board members, right? We're just doing on CCNRs. So we will have to find out if there's a tie that says, okay, 5 no and 5 yes, then we're going to have to probably either null that out completely and just take it as a no, or we're going to have to send it back out as we may do it as a survey, as a questionnaire, but let me look into that one too, Jackie. But that's really a process thing, not an Election Buddy thing. Fair enough. Okay.
This is just a simple question, but the 16-digit code, does that one stay forever with your lot, or does it change every election?
It'll change every election.
Okay.
Because each election starts over again. That's my understanding of it. By the way, I had a question earlier today from someone. Is there a copy of the CCNRs to look at, especially for those people who can't print their own? And there will be one available, right, Roberta, in the office?
I believe if you don't have a current copy, we can get one printed at the office. Is that not correct, Arlene? If someone needs a current copy of the CCNRs, they can come to the office and get a printed copy. Yeah, you can contact them and they can email it to you, in which case you can look at it on your computer or you can print it out at home. I do have a question here.
Hi, Sue. 2 questions.
I flipped my lid.
That's okay. You can go get that.
Okay.
If I tried to submit my ballots and I haven't selected a decision on 1 or 2 or 5 different questions, will it accept the submit?
Okay, so that's a very good point, and I think that's why there's an abstain option on there. But Jackie, will you write that one down? I will check it for you.
Yeah, I just noticed as you're going through your slides,
Yes.
when you get to the confirmation and you click the confirmation, it does allow you to print your ballot out or your decisions at that time.
What the confirmation lets you do is print the confirmation, not your ballot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you're
There's
talking
one up
about,
here too.
okay, you're talking about Neighbor. And am I understanding that htresort.com is that, or am I missing out on a whole place?
You're exactly right. It is that. It had so many names through so many different services we had that we had them put htresort.com, which will always get you to whatever is the current thing. So if you do that, and to find things like the CCNR, for instance, the red line changes, you go to Neighbor and log in. You go to Resources, Governing Documents, scroll down, and there is the red line document. It's never easy finding things in Neighbor. So when I put together the list of other things you might want to know, I'll include that on there.
I have a question. Okay, I have a question. I thought that I'd read on the second one that it said it was probably up to $1,500 for Buddy, and you said that was a savings. Is that each time?
Yeah, the $1,500 was when Election Buddy was approved by the board.
It was up to
It was up to
$1,500.
$1,500. So go ahead, Roberta.
So actually, to get into specifics without boring you, the license is $299, and then we paid the $599 for the full assist from Election Buddy, which is $895, if my air math is correct or close. And that allows us for the vote, okay, for whatever vote it is. The goal is that our POC, which is Jennifer in the front office, once she learns how to do this, hopefully when we do the next one for the Board of Elections, then we would only have to pay the $299 for the license because she will be able to set up the product. But we paid the higher amount this time so that she could get the training on it. Now, if we have to do that next time, that's fine. It still only comes to about $1,600, which is still a cost savings, but okay. Okay, sure.
At the board meeting last month, when the changes to the CCNRs was read, it was stated that they had to be read 3 times before the election. 2 times. Okay, is there going to be another reading?
At
Or
the
just
November board meeting, we're going to bore you again by reading those. And
so it's not just on Neighbor, it's going to be read again.
right, so the rule for our CCNRs is that we have to read them twice, and they have to be posted in 4 locations.
And in addition to that, Marie mentioned yesterday at the board workshop planning meeting, whatever its current name is, that on some of the items, they will be explaining more why and how this came about. So there'll be a little more information in that second reading if you can stay awake, which this presentation is probably putting you all to sleep too. But
Sue, over here. I have 2 quick questions for you. One is on the subject that we're currently on. Since there have been changes to what was originally read to us, I believe our governing documents state that what we're voting on has to be read for 2 consecutive months. Since what was read in October, I'm sure you will, what was read in October is no longer exactly what we're voting on because there have been some grammatical changes and some combination of certain things that we're going to be looking at. Doesn't that not mean we should have to have this document read to us again in November and December? That's one question. And the other is, since it's been very clear that the HOA has the majority of owners' email addresses in hand, could we ask that the red line, the true red line edition, not the combination edition that we got printed out, but a true red line edition be emailed to everybody so we all have a copy of the changes to look at rather than have to hunt them down through the Neighbor site?
Okay, so to answer the first question, there aren't any changes to what's being voted on. Administrative corrections are not counted in that. And per the attorney, grammar, spelling, and all that is somewhat an automatic. So when I say that we're going to clean it up, I'm talking about if we put of and it should be at, that's the issue. We took 2 items. No, it is still being voted on. We are combining them to be 1 vote as opposed to 2 individual votes. That's not a change. Not a change to what's being reviewed and voted on. It's about how you're voting on it. And instead of we could have done an affirmation vote on all 13 of them, meaning you have to vote yes or no on all of it, which would have taken us a long time. We're doing individual votes, but we can take items of like-minded things combine them together as a single vote. So if you vote yes on it, that means both those items will pass. If you vote no on it, it means both those items will not pass, but that is not a change to what we're voting on. Darlene, the email with the red line document. So you want, okay, so that gets confused. That's like, I don't know how many pages. It doesn't matter. It's electronic. So I know what it is. So I don't know. Shall we go ahead, or is it better just to post it on Neighbor? And why is that a concern with it being posted on Neighbor?
I think regardless of what you're saying, I think that there are a lot of people that either don't read Neighbor or find Neighbor hard to get into, or because we get so many blasts a day, it's easy to miss. I'm just suggesting if you have the majority of our email addresses, it shouldn't be that difficult to just send a true redlined PDF to each one of us. That's my suggestion.
So I'm not sure how Neighbor, it actually comes out of Caliber. So then what has to happen is we have to somehow formulate, I'm running this, I'm sorry, I'm talking out loud. We have to formulate an email address with all of those emails. Is that what would happen?
Correct.
2001, and they all have to be blind copied emails, by
Correct.
the way. And then we would have to send that out. So we can work on that. I'm not going to guarantee anything. Let me talk with management to see what can happen. But I will tell you this. You can come in, call us, and we can send it out to you that way, rather than doing a mass push.
Because even
Well, you're shaking your head, but this takes time, and we got a management staff that has many of other things to do as well. I'm not in your face. I'm standing across the table. So whenever you would like to discuss it, I'm more than happy to do so.
Okay, and how much is this saving Happy Trails overall by going electronic versus doing paper?
So there's a combination of things. It's not just a cost savings. It's also about hoping to boost the response. Currently at our last Board of Elections, we had just under 50%. I think it was a 48% response. We have Arizona Traditions, who has told us they went from approximately a 50% to a 70% response in getting more people to respond. It also saves in dollars for paper costs because it's an email or an SMM texting. So if you're in Utah on vacation and I can't follow you with a ballot because the ballot in paper form would either be in your mailbox here or in your mailbox at your house in Washington, this is going to follow you. Now, I get there are some places in Utah where you might not have internet connection, but we have a 2-week voting window, and the thought is you're most likely going to move into a location where you will have internet connection, and you know that it's coming, so I'm assuming you're going to be watching for it. Cost savings can be anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000, depending on how many additional copies are sent out, how many copies are made, envelopes, postage. The key piece being that we're going to have cost savings, but also the fact that we want to boost our response rate and participation of our membership, and then we get our results immediately.
So additional question over here. If we don't make quorum, what's the additional cost?
So as management, then the decision is that we go back to the drawing table and we wait. Correct me if I'm wrong, Darlene, because I think you were in there. They said if we needed to go back and redo it, we can still do it within a month or two without an additional cost.
I believe it was 30 days. Yes.
30 days, that's correct. But then the thought is, if we didn't make quorum, maybe we need to wait a little longer and then do this. But we should be doing for all of you that are out there, the last review was done, Barb, refresh my memory, 2021 was the last CC&R change. It was before I got on the board, just before. 2021. So we should be reviewing our CC&Rs about every 3 to 4 years, if not sooner, and then do one type of document change.
Is the quorum per item? Just ballot? Okay.
It's per ballot because there is only one ballot. There may be 13 items, but it's only one ballot.
If it was done by paper, there's 13 votes you have to check. Who validates and checks all of the ballots. You're talking 2,000 ballots. How do you calculate 2,000 ballots with 13 items and get it done efficiently?
We would have to do,
Statement. That sounded more like a statement. That's a mess. That's a very, very big challenge to try and do.
Okay, I had just a little bit more, the last slide, if you can get to it. And this was just to give you sort of a recap. One question that I thought you might have is, do I need an Election Buddy account to vote? You do not. That will all be done through Happy Trails. The notice, you're going to get notices from the administrator and from Election Buddy on what you need to know. Your voting credentials will be secure. I don't think anybody cares on this particular type of thing if others know how they vote, but the security is always a good thing. And we've already gone over the fact that you're going to get it by both email and SMS text message. And there is, if you want to look at it, there is, and I will put this in the list of things you might want, there is a voter FAQ, a frequently asked questions page on Election Buddy, as well as a very, very simple video, a YouTube video that I can give you the link for that sort of condenses this process and show us how it works. And it's good because the example in the video happens to be voting for members of the board, voting for like committee chairs or something, and then voting for a bylaw change, and you see how it all flows down in one message. Any other questions? Yeah.
Of the group. Thank you. I wanted a clarification on that question of the grouping the items to make 13 things we vote on, so 2 things might be together. Did I just hear we're not going to see that grouping until it's on the ballot?
No.
When are we going to see that grouping? Because it helps us analyze better than sitting there at the last minute. So
Right.
that was my
And in fact, we
question.
encourage you to look at it. I think from what I've heard about here, the red line copies will be on Neighbor, and the information on where to find them will be sent out in a blast.
And I said, I'm sorry, Sue, I'm at the back, that I would try it when we clean that entire document so it looks right. I would try and set it up to look just like the ballot would look. So those 2 individuals, ma'am, that are of like kind that we're going to have one vote on, they will be together.
And it will say that they have been linked together.
Right.
But I can help with that because I know how to cut and paste. Boy, I'm really got this one down now. Any other questions? Are you willing to try it? Thank you. Hi, Glenn. Yes, sir.
they use it at, whatchamacallit, Traditions. And they have, and Grant has another electronic one, and they all seem to work. So I don't see why we wouldn't want to try it.
My name is Glenn Brower, and I was one of the individuals in 2021 that implemented the changing of the CC&Rs. Prior to that, it took 2 years to do that. My understanding is there is no sunset clause in this agreement. And I suggest that the time that you have allocated to get all the votes in, I don't think is enough time. I think we need to really look at it, and there's a lot of work to this. And I got a lot of very good ideas on how we can do this better, but we need to basically give enough time that everybody understands it. You had the first reading. You're going to have the second reading. That still is not going to make, the idea is the response. You're talking about response. In your elections for officers, you got less than 50% response. To even get a quorum or to even get 75% response in the future is going to be very difficult. So I suggest we lengthen the time a little bit more. Thank you.
If you're talking about lengthening the time to vote, my feeling is it's 2 weeks. There is information available now to help you see what the changes are going to be and make decisions on them. You can vote, you will vote on each change individually. So no on one and yes on another will not invalidate the vote. I understand what you're saying, Glenn. If you're talking about more time, the next thing we're going to be up against is the Board of Directors election, which will come in February. So this is an excellent way to do this process, make sure it works smoothly, do our own homework, because believe me, we all have to do it too, see what we think about. And most of the changes that I have seen are pretty straightforward and fix some old things. So I hear you, but I think at this point, we don't have any extra time.
If I could just add, I was kind of informed that part of the issue with the 2 years, Glenn, is that it was a paper ballot. There were people out traveling. People didn't get their ballots, or they didn't find their ballots. They had to have new ballots sent. There wasn't a sunset date put on it until about 3 months before. They finally put the end date on it, and then that's when you so graciously sat in front of the mail center for a good 30 days, I believe, helping to get people to sign it and read it. And it was a pretty long document. So here we're talking about 13 individual items. Should be a lot less painful. And like I said, this will follow you. So if you happen to go on vacation December 1st to Colorado to visit your family and your grandkids for the holidays, you're going to get your ballot. So we won't have to mail you a new one.
And what I
That's all we got,
remember
Sue.
now too is that the mail service here will not forward. The post office won't forward like they used to then. So if you're out traveling, you're out of luck. Okay, any other questions? Great. Thank you very much for your, okay, one more? Okay. Yeah, one more question. That's why they're not stacked into one vote. They're individual.
I believe Roberta was saying that, they might put two together and then you would vote yes or no. Well, I don't think that's right, because that's like Congress and the way they pass their bills. I think we should have it all listed
as we all
out
know.
separately and vote on them individually.
And if we do that, that means you have 14 individual votes instead of 13.
Yeah, it's fine. If it makes you more comfortable, we'll see about it.
Sure.
All right, thank you.